Anthropometry, designed by Alphonse Bertillon, began in 1890 and lasted approximately 20 years before being replaced by fingerprint identification. Alphonse's father, Louis Bertillon, a famous French physician and anthropologist, largely influenced Alphonse's knowledge and interest in the human skeletal system. Understanding of fingerprints had not been yet well developed at that time. With much time on his hands to consider such a system, Alphonse Bertillon proposed a method of identification in 1879 using anthropological body measurements. With help from his father, he was able to successfully develop and implement anthropometry in 1882. The next picture you're about to see is the composition of Bertillon's system. First is anthropometrical signalment, or the measurement of the body, head, and limbs. Second is descriptive signalment, or a clear and specific system of description of an individual as well as the photography of the malefactors, also known as mugshot. Third is specular mark signalment, which is by indelible marks such as scars, tattooing, birthmarks, moles, etc. The next method is portrait parley. These two French words mean speaking likeness. Portrait parley can be defined as a rigorous system for verbal description of physical characteristics of the subject. It is based on the Bertillon method of criminal identification by measurements of the human body and is still in practice today to some extent. A distinctive description of every feature of the face and head are especially valuable for investigation, especially when a set of the suspect's fingerprints is not available in his file. In order to recognize individuals who were repeatedly arrested, Bertillon developed by means which portraits could be sorted by common morphological characteristics, the specific shapes of the different parts of the face, and thus an individual's prior photo could be found without having to resort to browsing through large collection of portraits. This classification is known as the portrait parley or spoken portrait. Bertillon designed an incremental physical description card, also called the Bertillon card. There are 25 traits described in Bertillon card: gender, face shape, chin shape, skin color, hair type, widow's peak, color of eyebrows, eyebrow thickness, eyebrow placement, eye color, eyes distance, eye size, eye shape, eyelash length, mouth size, lip thickness, nose size, nose shape, nostril shape, earlobe attachment, ear pits, hairy ears, cheek freckles, forehead freckles, and hair color. Description of following features considered in portrait parley: face, if oblong, oval, round, rectangular, square, triangular, diamond. Skin color, if very fair, fair white skin, light brown, moderate brown, dark brown, deeply pigmented dark brown to black. Eyes, round, almond, droopy, droopy hooded, Asian, round Asian, etc. Eye color, gray, green, blue, honey, brown, black. Color of eyebrows, black, dark red, dark brown, medium red, brown, light red, blonde, and light blonde. Distance between eyes, wide set, downturned, almond eyes, close set eyes, hooded eyes, and almond eyes. Types of eyebrows: thin, natural, thick. Bird styles: Hollywoodian, Old Dutch, Ducktail, Winfield, Pencil, Anchor, Handlebar, Super Mario, Newton Chops, to name a few. Ears: large, small, ears thickening in, ears thickening out. Types of lips: closed points, flat tops, roller coaster, large, lower. So the forensic odontology is a branch of forensic sciences, uses the skill of the dentist in personal identification during mass calamities, sexual assault, and child abuse, to name a few. This branch, not stranger to many, has been growing tenfold in its potential and its ability to bring the fallen to justice where a dental remains is the only available evidence. Its role and importance in the judiciary is fast-growing, and hence in-depth knowledge in this field seems more than justified. Forensic odontology is the proper handling, examination, and evaluation of dental evidence, which will be presented in the interest of justice. The evidence that may be derived from the teeth, the age, and identification of the person to whom the teeth may belong. Knowledge of forensic dentists requires encompassing of number of disciplines, since the dental records obtained can identify an individual or afford the information needed by the authorities to establish identification of the case. Kaiser Nielsen defined forensic dentistry as that branch of forensic dentistry that in the interest of justice deals with the proper handling and examination of dental evidence and the proper evaluation and presentation of dental findings. Historical background: 66 AD. Well-documented evidence to the use of teeth for identification began AD with Agrippina and Lulia Pauline case. It was the first use of dental identification where there is a record. In 1193, the first forensic identification in India started in where Jai Chand, a great Indian monarchy, was destroyed by Muhammad's army, and Jai Chand, Raja of Kanauji, was murdered, and he was identified by his false teeth. In 1758, Peter Halket was killed during French and Indian wars in a battle near Fort Duquesne. Halket's son identified his father's skeleton by an artificial tooth. In 1776, at the battle for Breed's Hill in Boston, Dr. Joseph Warren was killed in the year. His face was not able to identify as he suffered from a fatal head wound. A dentist, Paul Revere, identified Dr. Warren's dead body by a small denture that he had fabricated for him. Identification of unknown remains. Dental identification plays an important role when identification of remains of deceased person is skeletonized, decomposed, burned, or dismembered, and is invalid by visual or fingerprint methods. The identification of remains by dental evidence is possible because the hard tissues are preserved after death and can even withstand a temperature of 1600 degrees Celsius when heated without appreciable loss of microstructure. Age estimation based on dental data. The need for age estimation has increased in recent years because there is an increase in numbers of unidentified cadavers and human remains, especially in metropolitan cities, and age estimation for living individuals who do not have valid proof of date of birth with them. Dental aging technique can be broken down into two categories. First is developmental changes, which changes that occur to the human dentition while the teeth are growing and emerging into the oral cavity. Second is degenerative changes. It occurs once the teeth has erupted and begin to wear down. Sex determination. Sex determination is very important subdivision of forensic odontology, which plays a major role in identification of the unknown individuals in natural disasters, chemical and nuclear bomb explosion scenarios. Bite mark. The bite mark is defined as the physical alteration in or on a medium caused by the contact of teeth. In few of criminal cases, it is seen that suspect or victim has left his or her teeth marks on another person or inanimate object. The concept of bite mark evidence is interesting and is there from Roman times. Forensic anthropology can be described as the analysis of human remains for the medico-legal purpose of establishing identity. It is a multidisciplinary endeavor that applies the knowledge of biological anthropology and human osteology to cases where human remains are skeletonized or where a detailed understanding of the growth and development, morphology, or reactive neurons of the body can assist other disciplines in positive identification. As such, it is perhaps best placed as a sub-discipline within the wider practice of forensic human identification, having applicability to both the living and the dead. Forensic anthropology and human identification. The role of forensic anthropologists focuses on applying detailed knowledge of the development, morphology, and variation of the human body as an aid to establishing, confirming, or indeed refuting personal identification. Four basic biological criteria form the basis of any primary identification: skeletal or developmental age, biological sex, living stature, and ancestry or racial affiliation. These characteristics are supplementary by secondary traits, which include the following: body modification, evidence of surgical intervention, including scars and prosthetics, evidence of trauma, and chronic hard and soft tissue disease that may leave characteristic macroscopic and microscopic lesions on surviving tissue. Sex determination in anthropology. Most methods of age and stature determination are sex-dependent. Determining the biological sex of an individual is the first component of individualized analysis. Like most primates, humans display a discrete pattern of morphological differentiation between males and females. This is termed sexual dimorphism. Some of these differences are associated with primary sexual characteristics of the reproductive system, which includes pelvic morphology, while other presents a host of interrelated morphological, psychological, and behavioral features that become manifest with the onset of the hormonal surge at puberty. These are referred to as secondary sexual features. Forensic serology. Forensic serology is the application of the study of blood, semen, saliva, and other body fluids to legal matters. The field generally is comprised of the detection of enzymes and antigens, as in the identification of seminal stains or blood typing, and DNA typing. The serology section of a forensic laboratory may deal with any or all of the following: blood typing, characterization of unknown stains, blood spatter analysis for crime reconstruction, paternity testing, semen identification and sexual assault cases, and DNA typing for identification of victims and suspects. The composition of blood. Blood is a mixture of many components, including cells, enzymes, proteins, inorganic substances, and water. 55% of blood contained is plasma, mostly water and substances dissolved in it. Most of the solid materials, by weight, are cells, red blood cells, and white blood cells. Is it blood? Presumptive tests for blood. Presumptive tests rely on hemoglobin's ability to catalyze the oxidation of certain reagents, usually resulting in a color change. Oxidizing agent is usually hydrogen peroxide. Visible stain. Castlemaine. Solution of phenolphthalein is applied to suspected blood stain, followed by hydrogen peroxide. A bright pink color indicates the presence of blood. Mucomalachite green. Same procedure as KM. Produce blue-green color in the presence of blood. Invisible stain. Luminol. Used for large areas where blood is suspected but not visible. If blood is present, it will glow. Must be viewed in darkness and photographed quickly. Blood typing. Antigens. On the surface of red blood cells are molecules called antigens. Antigens allow a living system to recognize foreign biological substances such as infectious agents and allergens. Antigens also impact specific characteristics to the RBCs. These characteristics can be partly used to identify individuals. Human red blood cells have many antigens, but the ones most commonly used for blood typing are RH and ABO. Blood stain analysis. Categories of blood stains: passive, dripping, transfer or smearing, and projected. Projected blood stains occurs in shooting, trauma from blunt weapons, hacking, beating, or slashing attacks. Forensic characterization of semen. Many crimes involve sexual assault. Forensic investigators may need to search for semen stains at a crime scene. Bedding, clothing, towels, carpets, cushions, vehicle seats, etc. Seminal fluid contains water, spermatozoa, enzymes, and organic salts. Presumptive tests: UV light, acid phosphate. Forensic characterization of saliva. Saliva is a mixture of many components: 99% water, mucin, analyze, buccal cells. Adults produce 1 to 1.5 liters of saliva per day. Saliva is not uncommon at a crime scene, especially those involving sexual assault and bite marks. A simple test for saliva involves mixture starch, iodine, and a sample of the presumed saliva together. Starch and iodine are a deep blue color when mixed together. The analyze breaks down starch, however, and the color fades. DNA fingerprint, the new Sherlock Holmes. A DNA satellite is a region that consists of a short sequence of DNA repeated over and over again, like an extended genetic stutter, hundreds to thousands of nucleotides long. Satellite regions in DNA are apparently functionless and have long been dismissed as junk DNA. DNA fingerprinting has provided critical evidence in thousands of criminal cases and exoneration. In a more familiar example, it was also used to identify another killer, the lethal tainted spinach in the recent example. Cholera outbreaks and help trace the outbreak back to its source in California. DNA fingerprinting has not only transformed criminal, forensic, and judicial systems around the world, but has also revolutionized fields of biology, ranging from evolutionary studies to cancer detection and treatment. Breast cancer detection. Every year, the lives of hundreds of women are destroyed by rapists and murderers. DNA fingerprinting has helped identify and imprison untold numbers of such violent offenders. But there is another serial killer of women, far more insidious than any of these criminals. It is one who has taken hundreds of thousands of lives and who nearly every woman lives in fear of breast cancer. But soon, DNA fingerprinting will help put a stop to this killer too. DNA fingerprinting will be used to identify regenerate cancerous cells and has been shown to be useful in assessing a cancer survivor's likelihood of relapse.